weekend, and we're going to dive into it all. 1 hour from now at 3:05, we'll talk about the red-hot Rays with our guy from Rays Radio. Andy Freed will join us at 3:05.
Get me out of here.
He hasn't been saying that a whole lot lately because the Rays are soaring. They're winning series after series after series. Can they keep it going? We'll talk to Andy Freed of Rays Radio, good friend of the program. He'll be with us at 3:05. And then in the 4 o'clock hour, at 4:30 to be precise, a lot happening over the weekend. I have a long list of good things that happen, not so good things that happen, and some downright ugliness too. The good, the bad, and the ugly, Coach, is coming up at 4:30. So stick around for that. We're on the air to 5:30, and then it's Ronnie Lane with Switch Hitter to get you ready for. I don't even know who's on the schedule anymore.
It is Ronnie Lane, 5:30.
That's fantastic. So Ronnie Lane is coming up with Ground Rule Double to get you ready for the Rays and the Orioles at the Trop tonight.
There's a show. That's a show.
That's a show. Tampa's own Pete Alonso back into town. Shane Baz scheduled to go on Wednesday. He has not been performing well. That's actually one trade that doesn't look too bad for Eric Neander and the Rays. At least so far, they got a package of 4 players in exchange, and each one of those players are really starting to blossom down in the minor leagues, including a really good-looking catcher named Caden Bodine. So maybe that's something that the Rays can build off of. We'll see. Yeah. I get it, yeah. Really not much groaning, to be quite honest. You shouldn't be groaning over this team because of what they've been able to do. Yeah, Saturday wasn't very pretty. Yeah, with Hunter Biggie. That was the inning that would not end. And I was kind of laughing about it, to be quite honest with you. But then the Rays came back. They won Friday, lost Saturday, and then they came back yesterday. The game started earlier than usual on NBC/Peacock. Didn't bother the Rays one bit. Rays put away another series. They continue their dominance at home. Is it time for us to start raising our expectations for your Tampa Bay Rays in 2026? That is the theme of our opening drive.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio presents the opening drive.
An impressive opening drive.
What an opening drive with TKras.
Boy, you got to like what you see out of this Rays team. They've won 18 of their last 22. 30-15 through 45 games. And usually, I like to sit here and say that once you get to the Memorial Day weekend, that's your first true checkpoint, because at that point of the season, you're about a third of the way through. A third of the way through the season is 54 games. And we'll be approaching that checkpoint coming up in a week or so. You'll be very close to it. And I think once you get a third of the way through the season, you can sit back and kind of assess or reassess what your team looks like, do a self-evaluation. All right, who's up, who's down, who's hot, who's not? Which injured players can we expect back? And every team is dealing with injuries in some way, shape, or form. And so are the Rays, to be quite honest with you. But I can tell you this. No matter what is going on the periphery in terms of the injuries that have taken place, this team appears to have it. Whatever it is, and it could be the chemistry, it could be their style of play, it could be all the above. I saw Junior Caminero after the game yesterday, post-game interview on NBC/Peacock, and he was praising his manager, Kevin Cash. He said, "We have the best manager in the game. We love him. He's a leader." And that's a guy that doesn't get, I think, nearly enough. Here's what bothers me about us, meaning us and the market. We have guys and people here that are more well-respected outside of this market than they are inside of this market. And Kevin Cash certainly would fit that bill. All you keep seeing is when the Rays lose a game, and look, they're not going to win every single game, although it certainly looks like it. Anytime you're winning 2 out of 3, you're putting yourself in a position to play October baseball. But when you see the national pundits and the people from outside looking in, heaping all sorts of praise and admiration for the job that Kevin Cash and Eric Leander have done, yet you're here inside of the market and they're haters. And look, I get it. They're haters everywhere. We see them. I have them. Chris Mathis, who's like the nicest kid you'll ever meet in your life, he's got them. That's just the world that we live in. It's a cynical world. And you just have to roll with the punches, so to speak. But that's an issue that I see quite a bit, is the people that we have here in our leadership roles are more respected outside of the market by people who know what it looks like, by the way, than some of us here in the market. And that's an issue, a little bit. But regardless, what isn't an issue is the way this team is playing and the tenacity in which they exhibit, night in and night out. Friday went extremely well for the Rays, Friday night. I was there. I was at the game. I ran into Kim Babby, by the way. And we exchanged some pleasantries, and we talked for a little bit. And then the Rays did their thing. And then Saturday was just a topsy-turvy type of game. It goes into extra innings, and then the Rays had one lousy inning. Thanks or no thanks to Hunter Biggie. Things like that will happen. And when the game gets out of control like that, unfortunately, you don't want to burn any of your arms. Hunter Biggie had to wear it. You got to wear it. They're wearing it. I need my money. Everyone else is wearing new suits. I still got the same damn suit from 3 years ago, Henry. I want my money. But regardless, that was the scene on Saturday. But you know what? Does it faze this team? It does not. Because they come back yesterday, and Drew Rasmussen, I thought, battled his ass off. Did he have maybe his A-plus stuff going? Probably not. You look at his strikeout numbers, you look at the way that game kind of unfolded. He only struck out 2 over 5 1/3. He gave up 7 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks. But you know what? He battled. Didn't give up any home runs. Ended up getting the win. He's now 4-1 with an ERA of 3.19. That's outstanding. Through the first, quarter to 1/3 point of the season, the Rays right now are being anchored by their starting pitching staff, which has been outstanding. It really has been in a lot of different ways. Quality innings, low ERA, they're filling up the strike zone, and more importantly, the defense. It's about pitching and defense, which is about 70% of the game. And right now, you're getting that. Because the starting pitching's been fantastic. Drew Rasmussen just gave you another really good outing. He was your opening day starter. He's 4-1. Nick Martinez, what more can you say about this guy? Pacing back and forth in the dugout like some madman. I don't care. He can pace back and forth all he wants. The guy has been incredible. He doesn't strike out a whole lot of guys, but he goes right after you. Nick Martinez, like Drew Rasmussen, 4-1. Nick Martinez, ERA, 1.51. Shane McClanahan continues his incredible comeback story. He's won 4 games against just 2 losses. ERA, 2.27. The starter ERA is impeccable. Steven Matz, who started 7 games, and by the way, is due back this week. You heard Eric Leander with me on Friday. They're about to get Steven Matz back. And even though Steven Matz has missed 2 weeks, guess what? His record is 4-1, just like Drew Rasmussen, just like Nick Martinez. And Ryan Pepio, good friend of the program, he hasn't even pitched at all, nor will he, obviously. He underwent hip surgery last week in Nashville. Just imagine how much better they would be if Ryan Pepio was in the starting rotation, a guy that you can rely on for double-digit wins, throwing 170 innings. And like most of the pitchers on this pitching staff, he has an absolutely wipeout type of changeup. So does Nick Martinez. So does Shane McClanahan. The changeup has become the bread and butter pitch of a lot, if not most, if not all, of the pitchers. So kudos to Kyle Snyder. Kudos to Kevin Cash and Eric Neander for making some of these moves. Nick Martinez, everyone's like, why? Why are we bringing this guy in? And I don't think the Rays could have envisioned what Nick Martinez has done so far. 1.51 ERA through 9 starts. Are you kidding? Is that sustainable? I don't think so. I mean, 1.51. That's unheard of nowadays. That's like Dwight Gooden, 1985 territory. I was talking with a friend of mine over the weekend. And, you know, when you're a sports fan and you're growing up, you tend to remember certain milestones, certain stats of some of your favorite players. For instance, for me, it's Dwight Gooden, 1985. 24-4, 1.53 ERA, 16 complete games, 8 shutouts, and he struck out 268 batters. It's up here. There's no cue cards or anything. There's no teleprompter. I'm looking right at you, and I'm able to just rattle off these stats. And that's how it is in baseball. When you grow up watching baseball, playing it a little bit, as I did, very little. But when you watch it, some of these numbers, some of these incredible numbers just are etched into your memory. And Dwight Gooden back in 1986, some 40 years ago, well, 1985, those numbers that I just gave you, the 24-4. More than 40 years ago. His ERA for the season was 1.53, and he did it basically with 2 pitches, a fastball and his curve. Nick Martinez, through 9 starts, has a 1.51 ERA. Again, do I think that is sustainable? I do not. I think there's going to be regression, and that's the thing. Regression. Everyone's waiting for regression to take place. So far through 45 games, we haven't seen any sign of this team slowing down. Will there be regression? Undoubtedly. They're on an incredible stretch right now. 18 of their last 22. Remember, at one point, the Rays were 2-5. 2-5. Since that 2-5 start, your Tampa Bay Rays are 28-10. Now, remember last year when they were over at Steinbrenner, they had a similar type of run. They were 25-9, if you remember, over a 34-game stretch, like May into June-ish. 25-9. And we thought, okay, maybe they're ready to challenge, even though they were under adverse circumstance, to playing in a minor league ballpark temporarily, yada, yada, yada. The heat started to set in May into June. And unfortunately, they stumbled into early July and then post-All-Star break into August. And then mid to late August, they made another run. And they got to within 2 games of the wild card going into Labor Day weekend, and then they fizzled. So it is certainly possible that this team could run into a roadblock or a pothole or an obstacle of some sort. Last year, they were 25-9, and then they cooled off. The bullpen blew a lot of games. Right now, this team is in the midst of a 28-10 run in first place in the American League. First American League team to 30 wins. 3 games up on the Yankees, who lost yesterday in the most disastrous of fashions. Yesterday was a great day. You know, the Rays won, and then watching the Yankees go down in flames the way they did to the New York Mets in the Subway Series really, really touched me deeply in so many ways. And we'll get into that later, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. But here's the thing I was thinking about. Is it time to raise expectations for the Rays? I think the answer is yes. Last year, 25-9. They had a couple of runs in them. They still finished at 77-85. Now, when we spoke right before the season, I had 3 levels of expectations for the Rays. I had a floor. I think the worst the Rays could have been this season was what they did last year, 77 and 85. I thought their ceiling was 86 wins, and they're in the playoffs as a wild card. That's what I thought the ceiling was before the season. And I thought right in the middle, I expected 80 to 82 wins, somewhere in that range, right around 500. Tough division, obviously. And then we had some injuries took place before the season. But I had them in that 80 to 82 range in terms of expectation. Well, guess what? They're way past that right now. They're on an electric pace, pushing 108 to 110 wins. Do I expect them to win that many games? I do not. However, the way this team is going, how dominant they've been at home, I think it would be an upset at this point if they didn't win 93 to 95 games the way they're going. I don't expect them to win 100 or more than 100. That's probably asking too much. But at this pace, I think their style of play, the speed, the aggressiveness, taking the extra base, you have guys like Taylor Walls, who is contributing with his bat as well as his glove, which, by the way, is just exceptional. There are many shortstops in baseball you're going to take in terms of his defensive prowess than Taylor Walls. You can make a case maybe Bobby Witt. That's fine. But I'll stack Taylor Walls up against anybody defensively in baseball at shortstop. Anybody. And if he swings the bat the way he did over the weekend, particularly yesterday with that 3-run triple, you're going to take anything he does offensively as icing on the cake. But at this point, the pitching and the defense is there, which is 70% of the game, and they play a style of ball that drives opposing teams absolutely crazy. And it's led by, I think, the team MVP so far in Chandler Simpson. He's the tone setter. He exemplifies their style of play, which is very tough to defend, as the Marlins and everybody else has found out to this point. I get it, 45 games, we got a long way to go. But I think the way this team is going, it's time to raise those expectations. You have to raise the bar. Where I thought before the season, 80 to 82 wins, it's way beyond that now. I thought the ceiling was 86 and a wild card. I'm 90 plus now. And possibly, now, I don't know if they'll win the AL East, but at this point, if the starting pitching remains intact with those 3 starters, meaning Rasmussen, Martinez, and McClanahan doing his thing, and now Matz is going to come back, it's possible that they could be a thorn in the side of the Yankees, who are going to get Garrett Cole back in terms of maybe competing for a division title. But at this point, 93 to 95 is not out of the realm of possibility. Have you seen this team play? Because their style of play is sustainable as long as Chandler Simpson remains upright and as long as the pitching and the defense continues to do what it's been doing. So really positive vibes for your Rays through 45 games. We got a long way to go. They are bound for regression. I mean, 1.51 ERA for Nick Martinez is incredible. Do I expect that to persist? I don't. With all due respect to Nick, I love him. He was on the show last week. He was an exceptional interview. And I love how fiery he is on the mound. I love the fact that when he gets into the dugout, he's walking up and down like a madman. I kind of like the energy he brings to the table. Kevin Cash, after the game, was asked about his team. Hey, you're 30 and 15. You're in first place. And Kevin Cash basically said, you know what? We're a pretty good baseball team at this point, aren't we?
Yeah, no, we're a good team. I feel like that we're representing ourselves very, very well. We got to do little things right, and I feel like the guys have done that. The combination of the 3 guys kind of sitting in the middle, and then all the traffic that gets created around them allows us to score some runs.
Did you hear that in the background? There was a mad bass, boy, booming out of that locker room. Was that just the sound quality of the cut, or was somebody booming some bass in there? I like it. whatever it is, the vibe is great. And they're confident, and these guys love to play for each other. They have each other's back. Chemistry should not be overlooked. And every single player that I've talked to, as well as some front office people, they are saying that from a chemistry standpoint, this team is about as close as any team we've seen, maybe going back to 2020 when they went 40-20 and went to the World Series. That team had a really special bond to it. This team apparently has many of the same elements, too. So you got to love what you see out of this team. We'll talk to Andy Freed. He will join us at 3:05. You can join us, 888-388-0957. Have you adjusted your expectations for this team? Because I have, and I think it's warranted. I think that part of it is sustainable because of the way they play and their starting pitching and their defense. Offensively, yeah, they could use another power bat. Look, there's plenty of time between now and August the 3rd for Eric Neander to kind of canvass the league. It's really early to know, who's going to be playing their way out of contention. Those are the teams to target. The Rays have plenty of time to figure that out. I do know that there's plenty of talent down in the minor leagues that the Rays have to offer in terms of a trade, maybe to get either another arm or another power bat in the outfield. Carson Williams coming up over the weekend. That was certainly an interesting move. We'll discuss that. Andy Freed will join me at 3:05. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly at 4:30, and so much more to do. What a weekend it was here in the Tampa Bay area. Great to have you with us here on The Drive. When we come back, we'll take a look at this Rays team and what they're up against this week, as well as maybe their most bitter rival losing in the most disastrous of fashions. That is also next.
You're tuned in to The Drive with TKras.
Oh, boy, what a Sunday it was. Well, what a show it is. It is The Drive, and it's driven by our guys over at Moss Nissan. Their goal is to never lose your business over price. TKras and Chris Mathis here, loyal Moss Nissan customers, and you will be too, especially after you find out the kind of deals they're offering this month. Check it out. 0% being offered on the Rogue, the Murano, the Pathfinder, and the Frontier. And bring Moss Nissan your best deal. If they can't beat it, they will give you $500, Chris.
And we already know, Tom, car buying is so easy right there at Moss Nissan. But now they're making car selling that much easier as well. If you're looking to move off of your current car, Moss Nissan will buy that right off of you, even if you choose not to get your next vehicle at Moss Nissan. Plus, every new vehicle sold this month of May at Moss Nissan, will help support the ALS Association with a $50 donation.
Which is awesome. Moss Nissan gives back to the community as well. And they're also offering Sunday service hours. Bring your car in on Sundays and work on it for you. 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. the Sunday service hours at Moss Nissan. 3 locations: North Tampa, Newport Richey, Brooksville, or online at Moss Nissan.